What's happened now is that we see, based upon what we in the law enforcement community have discovered, as well as the insurance industry, and of course our representatives in Albany, we find that there's a glaring loophole in the present laws with respect to insurance fraud, and most specifically with respect to no-fault insurance fraud. The holes and the loopholes that we see are allowing criminal enterprises to flourish and to go unpunished when they commit no-fault insurance fraud. What essentially is happening is that no-fault insurance fraud results in monies being paid out by our insurance companies for phony claims. The people who are flourishing are the recipients of the insurance monies, the false claimants, as well as compliant attorneys and compliant physicians who are also committing insurance fraud. And we want to continue to target those people. The beauty of the bill is that, as far as the law enforcement community is concerned, it gives us an effective tool for fighting no-fault insurance. It raises the level of the crime, which is presently a misdemeanor punishable by only up to 1 year, to a felony, which would be punishable up to 4 years imprisonment. And not only does it call for criminal penalties, but of course there are other sanctions against the physicians and the attorneys who are working with organized crime. And make no mistake about it, this is organized crime that are committing or helping to commit these particular crimes. The attorneys, of course, would lose their license to practice law upon conviction, as the physicians would be subject to similar civil penalties. So I really want to applaud all of our participants today, Senator Zeldin, Assemblyman Murray, my good friend in law enforcement over there, Tom Lohmann, and Rafe Lieber, for all of their efforts. I would urge in the New York State Legislature at the earliest possible moment to pass this bill. And I'm going to ask, if I could, Senator Zeldin to speak, and then Assemblyman Murray.
Across the country, if you look at our rates here in New York State and you compare it to what America's paying, we're about 53% higher than the national average. One of those reasons is about $250 million annually is getting spent on insurance fraud. This bill is an important effort to attack that. Earlier this year in March, we passed a bill called the Runner's Bill, as the DA mentioned, raising for those that stage accidents, crimes from a misdemeanor to a felony. But it doesn't go far enough. The fact is, there are many elements of no-fault insurance fraud taking place here in New York State, and this bill attempts to deal with a lot of that. With regards to mandatory arbitration, it allows for all the cases bogging down the New York City civil court system, for example, to reduce the backlog and those cases that are 5,000 or less to push them through easier, more efficiently, and more effectively. There's an instance that takes place quite often where once fraud is committed, these insurance companies realize 45, 60 days, 90 days later that there was fraud committed against them. They had already paid out on the bill, but it's too late, and they can't recover on the fraud despite the fact that they were able to uncover that fraud, unfortunately, just days after that 30-day deadline. And this bill seeks to address that as well. Additionally, those medical providers that commit fraud, they should be decertified. The bill addresses that. When a medical provider provides a bill to the insurance company, it makes a prima facie case stating that there was, in fact, this injury and this payment. Well, that requirement should get beefed up, and this bill is addressing is aiming to address that as well. And then not only should you be providing bills, but there should be some kind of substantiation that the service was actually provided. Because as the DA mentioned, this is organized crime. And not only should we be going after the individual that stages the accident, but the entire enterprise, which includes the medical providers as well. So once again, I thank the district attorney for his leadership, and it's something that hopefully we'll see Albany address sooner rather than later, because it's necessary not only for for us individually, but and our own families, but all across New York State, because it's directly impacting all of our insurance rates and the amount of money that that gets cheated right out of the system.
Thank you. As the District Attorney Spota said, this is another tool. This is a tool in his arsenal to fight what is a crime, to cut down on this. When we're talking about a time when families across Long Island and New York State are suffering to pay the bills and to make it, any kind of increase in their insurance rates or things of this nature, it affects them. It affects rates. It affects every single rate payer, and it hits them right in the wallet, and they can't afford it. This is a very good bill in the fact that it does address multiple issues, and one of the issues we were talking about is the fact that currently the insurance companies are forced to make these payments as quickly as possible, and these medical mills, if you will, are churning out these bills as quickly as possible. It's almost like a race to the 30-day finish line. They know that once they generate these bills and they get them out there, if they reach the 30 days, they're good to go. They got away with it. We want to change that. They can't get away with it. We have to extend it. We have to give not just the law enforcement, but the insurance companies. We have to give them the tools necessary to make sure these are legitimate claims. Nobody's saying we don't want to pay out on legitimate claims. Of course we do. But when you have fraudulent bills and they're getting paid and it's affecting the ratepayers, we need tools to fight that. The other aspect that Senator Zeldin brought up that I thought was very important to address is the fact that this will also decertify these medical professionals who are defrauding the system. It gives, again, another tool. It's no longer a slap on the wrist. It's now a felony, and they will be decertified and taken out of practice. So when we have these medical professionals, if you will, that are abusing the system, they need to be removed and taken out of the system. I think this bill does that, and we're going to do what we can to fight to push this and get it done as quickly as possible. Thank you to everyone here who is supporting us in the efforts.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank District Attorney Spota for hosting this event here today, as well as our state legislators, Senator Zeldin, Assemblyman Murray, for joining us. We've talked a lot about the legislation. We've talked a lot about the issue. Fact is, New York drivers are getting hammered by insurance premiums, and we need to do something about it. We are paying 53% more than the national average in New York. It's absolutely out of control, and New York drivers are outraged because we just can't pay these premiums anymore. The state legislature has the power to make a difference here for every driver in the state of New York. We're being hit from all angles on things that continue to rise we can't afford anymore. The price of gasoline is going to continue to go up and up and up this summer and perhaps beyond, and it's really beginning to affect our wallets. And we're standing up because we're angry, we want our voices to be heard. We're trying to raise awareness of this issue because it's extraordinarily important. There's no doubt that the legislature is tackling some extremely difficult, very important issues. There is still time left in this session. The key here is that the legislature has the power to give these tools to the local officials to make a difference in everyday life of every single New York driver. Senator Zeldin, as well as my Senator Martins, recently took a huge step in calling for the repeal of the MTA payroll tax. I think that's a fantastic step for every single, certainly downstate New Yorker in the 12-county area. They're doing what they need to do. And now they're here and they're standing up and they're saying these insurance premiums are out of control. So my call is to the state legislature: pass this bill, pass it in the Senate, pass it in the Assembly. The governor needs to sign it before this session ends so that New York drivers can get the relief that they deserve. I thank everybody again for coming here today, and on behalf of the 19 million New Yorkers and many of them who are driving their cars every single day, thank you again.
I just mentioned before that the DA's office has an insurance frauds bureau, and one of the main participants has been the NYSAIF, National Insurance Crime Bureau, who is regionally is led by Tom Lohmann, and I'd like him to speak. I think he can give you an example of when we all say that this is a criminal enterprise. He'll tell you exactly how this thing really works and how shocking it is.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to thank District Attorney Spota, Assemblyman Murray, and Senator Zeldin for their efforts in standing up and addressing this. Really, it's a prolific crime that we're seeing throughout the state. Unfortunately, it's a crime that's hasn't been addressed in the past to the point that it is being looked at upon now. District Attorney Spota mentioned a case that his office had done back starting in 2002, and these bills that are pending in the state legislation at this time, this case touches on every element of that investigation. That was an investigation in which there were staged motor vehicle accidents on Suffolk County highways, particularly the Southern State Parkway. There were medical mills that were set up throughout New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York City. There was one doctor that was the principal player on record for all of those facilities. The investigation was able to establish enough evidence to bring Dr. Igor Chairman to trial. District Attorney's Office successfully prosecuted him on all of the charges of the indictment. As a result of that investigation, Dr. Chairman cooperated with District Attorney Spota's office, and as a result, we were able to bring forth the 2 individuals that really ran this criminal enterprise. And there were 11 medical facilities that these 2 individuals owned. Igor Kleinman and Gregory Greenberg were the 2 players. And what they did is they ran their operation in a little office suite above a bakery in Brooklyn. And what we wound up doing, District Attorney's Office and Spota's investigators, we set up an undercover sting operation in which we laundered over $250,000 in property and casualty industries checks as a result of staged and caused accidents and basically unnecessary medical billing and treatment. And from there, the undercover officer became very friendly with the 2 principal players, and they told them, look, we have a medical facility that we opened in Florida. It's a little tough to collect money here in New York under the no-fault statute, but we found a better entity down in Florida, and what we're doing, we're billing Medicare and Medicaid. So at that point in time, District Attorney Spota's office, they moved forward with the alleged purchase of this facility. We were going to buy it for, I think, $1.2 million. The players came up to New York, and we actually showed them the flash money to seal the deal. There was an accountant that was involved in this operation, the 2 doctors. And the investigation showed that not only were they billing millions of dollars to the property and casualty industry, in this one little facility down in the state of Florida, they were billing over $200,000 a month to Medicaid, Medicare. It shows that these individuals, and it's an organized crime, as DA Spota has mentioned, it just doesn't stop on the P&C, the property and casualty side. We pay in higher premiums, as Senator Zeldin was just saying. But you're also paying now on the public health care side. We look at what's going on in the public health care arena. The cost of health insurance is skyrocketing. These individuals that are involved, they know what they're doing, and they know where the money's easiest to get, and they take advantage of that. Both of these bills, and the National Insurance Crime Bureau, as a representative of the insurance industry, we applaud the legislators that are bringing these bills forward, and District Attorneys Spota, as well as all the district attorneys that have stepped forward in the last few weeks and has urged our legislators to take action and pass these bills. I'd like to thank again District Attorney Spota and also Allstate for really kind of coordinating and getting everybody together on this effort, and I thank you all.
Okay. Thank you.